Welcome to Hits Different. Lee-hee-hee. I'm Molly, and sadly, there's no Ryan on this episode today. She's getting ready for her cross-country move, so you're stuck with just me, but don't worry, there's so much to get into today, such as the big news regarding Travis's career, and answering your questions like, how did Ryan and I meet? And what's the origin story behind Hits Differently? Plus, a lot of you were asking, what's gonna happen at the iHeart Awards? Shout out to everyone who submitted a question to us on Patreon. Thank you so much. If you're interested in joining our Patreon, the link to that will be in the description of this episode. You can also join our memberships on YouTube. And if you're listening to this episode on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, please follow us and do us an extra favor by leaving us a rating and review. It helps our content reach more Swifties just like you. If you didn't see the news, Travis announced that he is coming back for his 13th season in the NFL. That's right, lucky number 13. As Travis has said before, 87 plus 13 equals 100. It just makes sense. He announced this through the Pat McAfee show. Pat has notably been a huge fan of Taylor. He's raved about the Eras Tour on his show, and he read the text out loud that Travis was coming back with multiple exclamation points. So that means that hopefully we're going to see Taylor at a bunch of Chiefs games again next year. I'm already dreaming of the outfits. Also, I just want to note that I am recording this before the New Heights episode comes out, where Travis is going to talk about making this decision, coming back for this 13th season. So by the time our episode airs, that New Heights episode should also be available. If there's anything important that comes out of that we need to address, don't worry, we'll cover it on our next video. And I need to talk about what happened on last week's episode of New Heights, which is when Jason and Travis were talking about, when you're sad, do you listen to music that's sad? And Travis said, I just listen to Taylor's music because she has a song for everything. I love when moments like this pop into interviews with Travis or into New Heights, because it just proves that Travis is a Swiftie like all of us. Some other really fun news that happened in the last week is that if you were watching the Oscars, you might have noticed some familiar faces, because several of the Eras Tour dancers were involved in the musical productions at the Oscars. I didn't notice it at first, and then during the James Bond tribute montage, Margaret Qualley, who was Jack Antonoff's wife, was starring in the beginning of this tribute. She's dancing, and who was she dancing with? Jan, aka Post Malone. I'm just kidding. If you were around for the Eras Tour, then you get that joke. Jan, Sydney, Sam, Taylor, Tori, so many of the Eras Tour dancers were involved in the Oscars, and that is just so cool to see. I love that we are going to get to see them just dance throughout their careers now and be able to say, those were the people from the Eras Tour. All right, it's time to get into these questions. I'm so excited to answer these. Thank you again to everyone who submitted on Patreon, and some of these come from Instagram too. Our social handles on everything are at @ItHitsDiffPod. They're linked to in the description of this episode, and you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky. Go connect with us there so that we can keep in touch with you in between episodes. The first ones are all from Patreon. So this one is from Kate. As a Hits Differently newbie, could you share a bit of the backstory about how you two met and decided to create this? So how Ryan and I met? Well, summer of 2013, we were roommates together for an internship. We spent 10 weeks sharing the same room. And then after graduation, we came back to work for that company and live in that town again. We were doing TV production. So we were learning how to produce and edit and things like that. And I should also mention that my husband, Alex, who is also the producer editor of our show, he and I met in college, and he ended up working for this company after graduation as well. So all three of us were there. We stayed friends, stayed in touch, and really our friendship became stronger around the Reputation era, which is because Ryan and I would just talk about that album all the time at work and plan how we were going to get our tickets for the tour. And the rest is kind of history. We just always kept up with each other and stayed in touch and would talk about Taylor. And then at some point, we all moved on to different jobs so that we could have a little bit more of a normal schedule. We were working our 9 to 5s, and we realized we really miss producing, editing, making content. All of us loved to do that and we weren't doing it anymore. And so we realized, what's one thing we all love doing? Talking about Taylor. Maybe we could use our skills and our love of Taylor's music to try and make something. And so we made the podcast starting in the fall of 2023. And then in January of 2024, we decided to start adding video to that and came to YouTube. And here we are in March of 2025. We have over 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. People are listening to us across various podcast platforms, following us on social media, but it's not about the numbers for us. I'm going to quote Taylor here with the speech that she likes to give at her tours. We know that there are so many great Taylor Swift creators across multiple different spaces, and you have so many options for who you could go to watch or listen to people talk about Taylor, and we're so grateful that you've chosen to watch or listen to us. We're super, super appreciative of all of the people who leave comments and interact with us. We feel like we've been so lucky to be a part of this Swiftie community that is just a bunch of fans who love to talk about Taylor in a positive way and connect with each other and clown with each other and keep up with what's going on in the Taylor world. So thank you for being a part of that and helping us to make this what it's become. Also, recently we've been live premiering some of our episodes on YouTube, which has been really fun because that means we get to chat with you in real time as you're watching the episode. We've been doing it around 5 p.m. Eastern time the last couple of Wednesdays. So if you're hearing this or watching this after that, just know for the future, we're going to keep trying that as much as possible. The next question is from Anne, who asked, can you go over her history with her producers and how she got connected with them? Love going into discussions on sound. Great question, Anne. Obviously, we could do full deep dive episodes on all the different producers that Taylor has worked with. So I'm not going to be able to answer this question in that depth right now, but I want to focus on my favorite Taylor Swift producer. And if you've been listening or watching for a while, you probably already know who that is. It's my buddy Jack. For the people who are watching on YouTube or Patreon, you can see it was kind of blocked by the mic actually today, but I got my buddy Jack behind me always in my little shelves. Taylor and Jack met back in 2012 at the MTV Europe Music Awards. And then in 2013, they had their first collaboration together when they wrote the song Sweeter Than Fiction, which was for the movie One Chance. And Taylor's next album that came out after that was 1989. And that's when they made the epic song Out of the Woods. If you haven't seen the Grammys performance of them playing Out of the Woods, it's insane. And Jack's vocals are actually a part of that song. So if you didn't know that, definitely go back and listen to it. Amazing. He also worked on I Wish You Would and You Are in Love on the original 1989 album. And then from there, they have never stopped working together. He worked on Reputation, Lover, Folklore, Evermore, and then Midnights, the whole original album. So the first 13 tracks that were on Midnights, he helped produce all of those. And then he is a co-writer on 11 out of the 13 tracks. And of course, he worked on Tortured Poets. He's also worked on all of the re-records with Taylor and many of the vault tracks that have been part of those re-records. For me personally, pretty much all of my favorite Taylor songs are also Jack Antonoff songs. I freaking love all of their work together. Let me know what your favorite Taylor and Jack songs are in the comments. The next question is from Bon, and apologies if I am mispronouncing anything. This was the question. Might be fun to clown about the iHeart Awards since Travis is nominated for Best Surprise Guest. The award show is in March, and I think NFL training camp doesn't start till June, so it could be their first red carpet appearance together. Olivia on Patreon also said that she loves it when we clown. And then on Instagram, Tess said, do you think Taylor will go to the iHeart Awards or announce anything there? So got a lot of iHeart questions and I'm ready to answer them. Firstly, do I think that Taylor will go to the iHeart Awards? I think so. She's been to several in the past. She's also recorded videos to accept awards there in the past when she hasn't been able to go, but her schedule seems to be pretty open right now. So I'm really really hoping that she's going to go. And if I had to put my money on it, I would say yes. Is Travis going with her? I'm also going to say yes. He's nominated in the surprise guest category multiple times, including his surprise guest appearance with Taylor on stage in London. So what better time for them to make their red carpet appearance, especially now that he's committed to coming back and playing in the NFL next year? That pretty much takes out the VMAs, any other award show in the fall. And then I'm not trying to jinx anything, but you know, the Grammys is always the week before the Super Bowl. That's all I'm going to say. So if he wants to go to an award show with Taylor, this seems like the perfect opportunity. Now for clowning about what else might happen. I mean, that alone will break the internet if they are on the red carpet together. But what else might happen at the iHeart Awards? Well, Ryan and I have mentioned already that the iHeart Awards is on March 17th, which is exactly 2 years since the Eras Tour had its very first show in Glendale, Arizona back in 2023. And Taylor is receiving the award for Tour of the Century for the Eras Tour. Why is all of this important? Why am I clowning? Because Taylor Nation, ever since we rolled into 2025, they have been noting every anniversary that they possibly can. They've been posting about it everywhere, okay? Going back to January, they posted about the day that was 2 years since the Lavender Haze music video, 5 years of Miss Americana, 1 year since the Tortured Poets Department announcement, 4 years of Love Story Taylor's version, 4 years of the Gasoline remix with Haim, and 5 years of the Man music video. So I think that they're hyping up these anniversaries because on the anniversary of 2 years since the Eras Tour began, when Taylor is receiving this prestigious award, maybe she's going to celebrate that anniversary by announcing something. What will she announce? I'm clowning at this point for some sort of documentary or the Eras Tour 2.0 movie. So basically the Eras Tour with the new set list that included Tortured Poets, or a documentary that just shows us all of the journey of the Eras Tour. Either one of those things, I think we'd all go crazy for, especially considering the fact that we don't know when we're going to get the re-records. I don't think she's going to be announcing Reputation Taylor's version or Taylor Swift Taylor's version at the iHeart Awards, which she's there for the Eras Tour and Tortured Poets. I think if she's going to announce something, it's going to be a documentary or a movie. Last note on this is that I've said a couple times before, but just to remind you guys, I think if she does announce a documentary, that it would be a series rather than just one documentary, because there's just so much. And we asked you all in our last episode if you'd be interested in a live stream after the iHeart Awards. You all overwhelmingly said yes. So we've got you. We will be streaming on YouTube after the iHeart Awards. All right, moving on to the questions that we got from Instagram. If you're not following us there, please go and follow us. It's at @ItHitsDiffPod on Instagram and any of the social media sites, Blue Sky, TikTok, etc. So Andrew, who I know is also on YouTube, hi Andrew, said, who else do you listen to other than Taylor? With love from Scotland. Thanks for that question, Andrew. And I know that you've been following us since at least when we went to the shows in Edinburgh, which was awesome. And I know you got to go to one of those shows too. So thanks so much for continuing to watch our show. Who else do I listen to other than Taylor? I would say this year it's mainly been Gracie Abrams, so I definitely stay in the Tay family. The album The Secret of Us was on repeat for me for months this fall. Same with Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter, and I love Bleachers, which is Jack Antonoff's band. Ugh, they're so good. I've seen them live multiple times now. They came out with a new album called Bleachers this spring, so I would say those three have pretty much been my rotation this year. I definitely listened to Cowboy Carter a bit when it came out before this era of the Tay family. Who else was I listening to? When I was younger, my girls were Celine Dion and Shania Twain. So Shania Twain was my first concert. There have been some clowns that are hoping Shania could be a collab on debut. If that happened, I would simply pass out. I would be so excited. I was in college in the early 2010s, so that was a lot of Kesha, some Adele. Oh my gosh, how could I forget Kendrick Lamar? He's been like my top rotation lately. I listened to his album GNX when it came out, and then the Super Bowl performance has really just brought me back to it. And I wonder why I like all of these albums. Jack Antonoff produced GNX. He also helped produce Short and Sweet. Aaron Dessner, another one of Taylor's collaborators, was on The Secret of Us with Gracie. I just like to keep it in the Tay family. Also a shout out to Griff, another Eras Tour opener that I've seen in concert. She was amazing. I love her music too. Let me know in the comments who else you guys listen to. Who should I be adding to my rotation? Annabelle asked, what was your favorite Taylor's version? And I've talked about this before too, that literally being asked to choose my favorite of anything when it comes to Taylor gives me anxiety and makes me want to short circuit, because choosing a favorite means that I'm leaving out something, and it's hard for me because I love so much of Taylor's music. Brian calls me no skip Molly. Anyway, I digress. If I have to pick, it's gonna be 1989 Taylor's version. And that's because 1989, the original, is the one that really brought me into the Swiftie fandom instead of just being like a casual listener of the singles that ended up making the radio. It was like the first Taylor album I listened to front to back. So being able to get her current vocals and improved production on that album was amazing. And then the vault tracks, I can't. How did we ever live without Is It Over Now? Say Don't Go, Now That We Don't Talk, Suburban Legends, just the whole album. It's just pop perfection. But by picking 1989 Taylor's version, that means that I'm leaving out 10-minute All Too Well from Red, which feels like a freaking Swiftie crime. I think that 10-minute All Too Well is easily the best vault track we've ever gotten, so how could I not pick Red Taylor's version? And then I think about Speak Now and how iconic it was that she shocked us all with that announcement. Okay, 1989 Taylor's version, we had our finger on the pulse. We thought it was coming. The blue dresses, amazing, but Speak Now, total surprise for everything. Total surprise for the announcement. And then the day that the album dropped and Taylor had the show in Kansas City with the premiere of the I Can See You music video and bringing out Taylor Lautner onto the stage and Joey King and Presley. Oh my gosh, that was such a time. I mean, I know that's not the album, that's like the release and the announcement, but still, there's just so much. And Fearless, the nostalgia of being able to get Love Story, You Belong With Me, The Way I Loved You, Forever and Always. Yeah. And I love those vault tracks too. Bye Bye Baby. I can't believe she never sang it on the Eras Tour. So this is my long-winded way of saying that I love all of them, but if I have to pick, it's 1989 Taylor's version. And I'll probably have to put an asterisk next to that because once Reputation comes out, we all know what I'm picking. The last question from Julie: how to handle when Taylor is not represented well in the media, whether true or not. She's human and going to make mistakes, and we can't always have blind faith and lack critical judgment. Very fair. Good question. Obviously, this is a very nuanced answer that's about to come your way, but to start from the end of your question, that we can't always have blind faith and lack critical judgment, totally agree. If there's ever something that Taylor does or says that you don't agree with, it's okay to disagree with her. She is human. She will make mistakes. And I think on this channel, what we have strived to do is create a positive, safe space to be happy about Taylor things and be happy about her music, be happy about the Eras Tour, support her in her career and her endeavors. But if the time ever comes where we do need to have some critical judgment, we're definitely open to that. On the other side of that, I think that fans also need to understand that Taylor doesn't have to respond or listen to our criticism. If you listen to But Daddy, I Love Him, she makes it pretty clear how she feels about people having commentary on the decisions she makes in her love life, for example, and how to handle when Taylor's not represented well in the media, whether true or not. Well, firstly, if it's not true, for the most part, I would say just ignore it. Don't feed the flames. There's so many headlines about Taylor every day that aren't true or aren't verified or whatever. I just try to ignore them. Only when it becomes a massive, massive thing do we comment on it. And on the same side of that, if there's something that is true about Taylor, but the media portrays it differently, we're all, again, entitled to our own opinions and our own beliefs. And you don't have to agree with something just because it's written about by some media outlet. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted on Patreon and on Instagram. And I cannot wait for Ryan to be back in our next episode where she's going to fill you in on what's been going on with some Tay therapy. She'll be stopping at our house on her long drive to her new home. And we will be live streaming after the iHeart Awards on March 17th. So make sure that you're subscribed to us on YouTube or following us wherever you get your podcasts so that you don't miss it. Thanks for watching and listening. Bye.